New Thought Media Network is pleased to present Treasures from the Tao, live on Tuesdays at noon Mountain Time with Reverend Jody Hill-Stevenson. Join us as Reverend Jody shares wisdoms, inspirations, and treasures from the Tao every Tuesday here on the New Thought Media Network. And here is Reverend Jody.
Good morning, everyone, or good evening, or good afternoon, whatever time you're listening to this. I am so happy you joined me. So 2,500 years ago, an old man could be seen walking across the king's kingdom towards the desert over on the other side of the courtyard. His name was Lao Tzu, and when he got to the Hankou Pass, fortunately for you and me, the gatekeeper knew who he was. And he said, "Oh, Lao Tzu, please write down your thoughts. You're such a sage. You're such a mystic. I'll get you a cup of tea." So I'm pretty sure as Lao Tzu sat down to write the Tao Te Ching, which today, 2,500 years later, is the second most popular book on the planet. I'm pretty sure the gatekeeper brought him a cup of tea. I have thought a lot about Lao Tzu this week. One of the reasons that he decided to retire, he was pretty much head of the king's library for years and years and a sage to the king. He decided to retire because he was so fed up with the politicians of the day and the greed of the people. So I've been thinking a lot about him lately and other sages. For those of you who know me, you know that I love to hang out with mystics and sages, and I read a lot of philosophy. I'm wondering what Lao Tzu would say about our politicians around the world and in America. So last week, as we all know, America experienced something new. She saw thousands of angry people ignited by words and energy from top leaders deface and damage the Capitol, which is often referred to as the temple of democracy. Last week, we saw 5 people killed because of mass rioting and terrifying hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people. When Lao Tzu sat down to write the Tao Te Ching, he was thinking of the current politicians of the day and the greed of the people. But when he wrote that 5,000 Chinese character, 81 verse masterpiece, he wrote a prescription for living naturally, peacefully, prosperously, healthily, and joyously. I want to read to you the very first verse of the 81 masterpiece known as the Tao Te Ching. Lao Tzu writes, "The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The Tao is both named and nameless. As nameless, it is the origin of all things. As named, it is the mother of 10,000 things." Lao Tzu called planet Earth 10,000, the place of 10,000 things. I just find that fascinating because I have like 10,000 things in my closet. I think he led a simpler life than I do. He writes, "Ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see only the manifestations. And the mystery itself is the doorway to all understanding." So there are 3 messages that come from this verse. And given the history that's been made in this last week, I wanted to just really dive into verse 1. In the Tao, which is the way, the Tao in Chinese languaging is the way to be. I call it the divine. Is the scene, is the essence, is the place behind everything that happens on planet Earth. The dramas, the successes, the joys, the sorrows, the whole story behind that is the Tao. Behind the land of 10,000 things is what Hinduism calls Maya. And the thing about the 10,000 things, that land, this land, when we think of it as reality, we get hooked. We get hooked. So let us remind ourselves in this verse that behind the land of 10,000 things, all the dramas, all the sorrows, all the joys, all the successes, all the failures, all of it is a place of peace, a place of joy that we can go to at any time and be renewed and feel rested and trust. The second thing that I want to talk to you about this verse is embrace the dramas. The truth is, you and I need dramas. Boy, do I get pushback on this all the time. People go, no, I don't need dramas at all. Oh my God, I've had way too much conflict in my life. And yet it keeps showing up. Now, that's not a bad thing. What gets us into trouble with our embracing the dramas is that we get sucked into it. We go, oh, this is reality. It is not reality. Behind the land of 10,000 things, behind the land of temporal, finite dramas is the Tao. So choose your dramas wisely. I've talked to people this week that said, oh my God, I spent 12 hours in front of the television watching everything. And I said, well, how do you feel? How did that, was that joyful for you? And he went, oh no, I was exhausted. And I find that very curious. So choose your dramas wisely. While I certainly was aware of what was going on last Wednesday at the Capitol, and even stunned by it. And yes, I watched a little bit to find out what was happening. I know in my heart, I know in the center of my heart that while America was bruised badly, she was not broken. I trust that the people who are educated and dedicated to uniting our country and serving all the people, I trust them. But it is not my cause. I am not meant to be a national politician. I'm a little tiny minister, but I can spread some love out in ways that I do. Politics is not my cause, but I know for others it is. How people believe in something bigger than themselves. I've just disappeared. Tao people believe in something larger than themselves. And they offer their own talents and skills in the ways that serve them, that uplift the consciousness of humanity. What are yours? What are you passionate about in the land of 10,000 things? My passions are to support organizations that focus on sex trafficking. I will do anything I can to support organizations that love and support animals, especially dogs. And I love assisting organizations that feed teenagers who live on the streets. What are yours? Find a cause, 2 or 3 that uplift you to higher and deeper levels of awareness. As someone once wrote, the world is fine. Now it's the conditions that may need to change. And number 3, the third point about verse 1, I'm going to ask you this week to embrace the mantra, everywhere I look, I see the face of the divine. Everywhere I look, I see the face of the divine. Now, I personally say everywhere I look, I see the face of the Tao or the divine, but the Tao can be confusing to people. Taoism is the exploration into the nature of existence. It reminds us to seek personal balance, which is the pathway of harmony in our everyday lives. It is enduring, it is promising, and it is more relevant than ever. Lao Tzu reminds us that there's a place of peace inside us. No matter what's going on in the land of 10,000 things, there's a place of peace within us. And by developing harmony within ourselves and seeing the face of the divine in all and everything, we can find solutions to conflict. And more importantly, we will have the opportunity to live authentically and develop a life filled with love. So again, I'm going to give you this homework. Please do it. Whether you're brushing your teeth, you're driving down the street, you're working on your computer, you're walking down the aisle of aisle 3 at the grocery store, even if you're watching the news. Don't get sucked in. Even if you're watching the news, say to yourself, everywhere I look, I see the face of the divine. While I can't see you right now, I want you to know that I send you great love, because who I see is God looking back at me. Have a great week, everyone. Please continue wearing your mask, listen to the scientists, and let's embrace this beautiful land of 10,000 things. But know that there's something behind it that is more real. Have a great week. I'll see you next week. I love you dearly. Bye.